All right, that's awesome. So hello everyone, this is Hugo Santos. Today's presentation is going to be about SearchStax. So I don't know if you guys know anything about SearchStax at all, so I'm just taking for granted that you don't know anything, and I will be starting from the zero, okay? The presentation we will cover pretty much all the aspects that SearchStax can offer to your project. But before jumping into that subject, I will start by introducing myself. So for those who I don't know yet, nice to meet you all. Hugo Santos here. You can reach me on hugo.santos@konabos.com or on Twitter, hsantos_x. Basically, I'm the head of the search practice at Konabos. I have a lot of experience with search and Sitecore. Actually, I used to work for one of the biggest search providers for Sitecore. General background is a lot of years with .NET. I've been working with Sitecore during the last almost 7 years right now. And that's who I am. Nice to meet you guys. If you have any questions after the presentation, please feel free to reach me out on email, Twitter, you name it, LinkedIn. If you find me, you can reach me, right? But yeah, let's move to the main subject, which is SearchStax. So what is this thing? SearchStax is a search provider, of course. The cool part is that it is Solr based. So most of the developers that I know, they are pretty used to Solr because that's the out-of-the-box search provider on Sitecore. And SearchStax is built over Solr. So if you know Solr, you kind of know SearchStax, or at least the basic stuff from SearchStax. It is cloud, which is awesome. So they have this way of hosting their own Solr that can serve us as search consumers, and it's plug and play. They basically created an infrastructure on which you can spawn a new Solr server within a few minutes, and then you run a very short PowerShell script on your Sitecore, and you are ready to roll. But why should you care about that? So why SearchStax should be an option? Because everybody's already using Solr, right? So it's not a big deal until you have to manage a lot of different Solr instances. That's the main point here. Used to be a problem for me, for myself, basically back in the day. So I think that the last time I checked, the out-of-the-box XP comes with 13 different indexes. So you need to manage that manually. So you need to spawn those machines. I don't know if you're going to be using VMs or applications, but you still need to manage that. And then you need to install the Solr servers on each one of them. You need to take care of upgrading the versions and etc. If you can save that time, because that's not bringing value to the client, right? So that's basically creating an infrastructure, and then you can bring value with the search. If you can save yourself that time to focus on bringing more value to the customer, at least in my point of view, that's a positive thing. But not only that, SearchStax will also take care of backups, which actually are pretty important until you need them, right? So they are automatically creating backups. You don't need to worry about that anymore. As soon as you need it, if you have the configuration properly set up, the backup is going to be there. One thing that I like about SearchStax is also the fact that they don't have a query quota limit per month, because that's one of the pain points when you're using Coveo, which is an amazing search provider, by the way. But if you have a very specific scenario on which you'll be using, I don't know, your search provider to drive the entire content, so you're not basically bringing the content from the database, you are leveraging the index. In order to do that, you cannot use Coveo. Coveo has a limit. So if you are basically triggering multiple queries for every single page view, you'll be over that limit pretty easily. With SearchStax, you don't have that. So you can get pretty creative with this tool, especially on search-driven pages. And it's budget friendly. Again, it's not a problem for everyone, but might be a problem for one of your clients, the fact that Coveo comes with a price. So if they are not happy with managing their own Solr, but Coveo is a little bit expensive for their needing, they can actually rely on SearchStax because the price is pretty aggressive. I think that the first layer is, I don't know, 30 or 40 bucks a month. That's for a developer instance. And then you have production nodes with dedicated clusters starting on the 300 bucks a month or something like that. And you can get pretty fancy with it. During the demo, I will be showing the options, so you're gonna have a better idea of how expensive or how cheap they are. I used to say that all that is the basic stuff from SearchStax. So basically, you are using SearchStax as a Solr as a service. You have your Solr running on their server. You don't need to worry about that. It is 100% transparent for your Sitecore that you are using an external Solr instead of using your own Solr. Here, things start to become a little bit more complex. So they are not only Solr as a service, they have one layer of complexity over it that you can use or not. I like to use, actually, that's one of the greatest thing about SearchStax. One of them is the fact that you can create A/B testing. So using their cloud platform, you can basically create different approaches, so different search approaches, in order to make sure that you are extracting all the power that you can, and you can then analyze the results of those different approaches. So you can be boosting certain items here on A, and you cannot be boosting any items at all on B, and then you compare if people are using more actually efficiently your search on A or B, and then you can take a decision. So the data decisions based are always better than decisions that you are basically guessing, at least from my point of view. So that's a positive thing. Which brings me to the second point, actually, which is the search user analytics. So if you are developing your search using SearchStax and your search page is properly configured to use the analytics that they offer, so basically those are JavaScript calls. That's it. So you have your search page. Your search page is already calling some JavaScripts. When a new query is triggered, you call it, and you call the SearchStax endpoint to log a new event. So a new search was performed. That's it. And then you do the same when someone clicks in a result. You raise another event to the SearchStax Analytics platform, because those later are going to be used to create dashboards. Again, that's going to be part of the demo, so don't worry. But that's one of the coolest thing about SearchStax, because now you know for sure that people are using your search or not, and how they are using, or if your search is relevant enough or not, how you can change, or even which keywords are not bringing any result at all, and you should work on them. That's something that you can leverage, that you can take actually advantage when leveraging SearchStax Analytics. And by doing that, of course, you improve the relevance. Because if you know that half of your users are looking for that product and you are not giving them that product, you can, guess what? Offer them that product, which would be awesome. That's one way of increasing your relevance. But there are also different strategies in order to do that, because they also offer the option of having on the same Solr, okay, for the same Sitecore, you can have different search models, which are basically a set of operations, a set of ranking expressions or filtering, you name it, for predetermined set of results. So you can have a search model for your, I don't know, shower products, and that search is going to behave in a way. And then you can have a different model for bathtubs, because you have this particular, I don't know, you have featured results, or you don't want to show results for that brand or anything like that. And then you have those two different models completely separated, even though they're queried on the same index. And that's awesome. I mean, that is something that it's part of the one layer more of abstraction. So it is not out of the box. You need to code a little bit, which is fine. I mean, when dealing with Solr, coding is part of the deal, but it's unbelievably good when you apply that in a right way. So you can extract more from Solr when you have that, when compared of just having your current or usual search provider and filtering and ordering by, I don't know, by relevance or anything like that. And for the developers out there, they offer a 14 days trial, so you can have fun with it. If you like it, you can try at least to push it on your project that you are working on. How to use it? It's cloud, right? So as I said before, it's 100% cloud. You don't need to install anything at all. It's a matter of going on their website, creating a new login, number one. Number two, you create what they call a cloud deployment. So basically you tell them that I'll be using a Solr, that's one unit of Solr. I want to host it on Amazon, Azure, or Google Cloud provider. It's going to be on the region that you want. and you're going to be defining how powerful it's going to be. So if it's a developer Solr, you can take, I don't know, one gig of memory with a few gigs of storage, and that's going to cost you 30 or 40 bucks a month. Or if you're creating a new cloud deployment for production, then you need something more robust. So that on that time, you're going to have different options. So you start by creating a cloud deployment for what you need. So if you're just a developer trying, you just need one. But if you have a proper project, probably you're going to have one for dev, one for QA, one for UAT, or even one for prod, or multiple cloud deployments for prod if the project is complex enough. After creating the cloud deployment, you're going to have one ID. So that's the cloud deployment ID. With that in hand, you are now able to run the PowerShell script that SearchStax created, which is very handy because basically what the PowerShell script does is you tell them your ID, your cloud deployment ID, your username, and your Sitecore instance name. And after doing that, it takes responsibility for configuring everything. So it's going to change your web config to create a few entries that SearchStax need. It's going to change your connections string, so you don't even need to worry about changing the on-premise Solr to the cloud Solr. It does that for you. And if you're dealing with commerce or Xcommerce or even using Xconnect, it's going to do other changes on the configuration in order to be able to use SearchStax as the search provider for commerce or for analytics. So you don't need to do anything besides running the PowerShell script, actually configuring the PowerShell script, and then running the PowerShell script, and that's it. After that, it's a matter of doing the things that you are already used to. So you populate the schema, just like on any other Solr implementation, and you rebuild your indexes, and that's it. You're done. So I'm going to take some time to kind of go through the entire cycle for real. I will not be running the script because my instance is already configured, but it's going to give you a good idea of what exactly you should do when dealing with SearchStax. So can you guys see my Chrome? I think that probably yes. If you can't, just tell me.
Yeah.
So okay, nice. So here's the cloud admin platform from SearchStax. Here's, if you have a login, you can log in on yours, and then you can create a new cloud deployment, just like I said before. That's the first step. It should take you probably 5 to 10 seconds. So you just give it a name. You pick one of the providers that you like more or that fits your needs. Each one of them will have a different price standpoint. Region, you can pick the region that you want. And again, as you can see here, they start at 40 bucks a month. And if you need more power, you can pay more for that, of course. And they do have dedicated clusters for production. So here, you basically are taking an instance as much powerful as you can. You are not sharing any resource. You have full capabilities to kind of have unlimited queries if you're gonna get pretty creative with it. So the last price that I can see here is 1,500 a month, which is not a lot actually on that industry. And then one thing very important is make sure that you pick the right Solr version for your Sitecore, right? I had problems in the past with that. My fault. I was playing with Sitecore 9.3, and I don't know why I picked a 7.5 or 7.3, and it wasn't the right one. So the first, because during the PowerShell script, one of the things that they do is they synchronize the configuration, so the Solr configuration between your instance and what they have on the Solr cloud. And that phase was failing basically because I created a wrong Solr version. Once you do that, you will be able to open your cloud deployment. It takes, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes to actually to be fully operative. So you're going to see that there is a status saying it's being created. So just wait a little bit. And one thing that's very important is that the Solr that they offer, it's exactly the same when compared to the Solr that you are used to. So it is 100% transparent. Your Sitecore will call the Solr with the same parameters, using the same APIs. It's 100% transparent. So if you have a website working with Solr today and you want to migrate from on-premise Solr to SearchStax, it is transparent. So it's a matter of running the script and you are done. So rebuild the index and start playing with it. If you want to leverage a little bit more the platform in order to use the analytics, the dashboards, or different models, then you need to code a little bit in order to have that. But the first phase is transparent. So as you can see here, let me just get rid of this. They have what they call the Search Studio. Search Studio is a new product. They released it a few months or even a few weeks ago, I don't know. And that's where the second layer of complexity lies. So that's when you have Solr as a service, you have Solr. That's it. If you want to add more complexity or if you want to bring more relevance, you can then buy Search Studio, which is a different product. And that's actually created over your Solr. So if you have Solr, that's nice. If you have Solr as a service, that's nice. And then you can have Search Studio to kind of try to increase your relevance. Here, you're going to have different models and A/B testing. The analytics, though, is part of the basic stuff. So as you can see here, let me just find. Yeah, so right here, you have analytics. If you're using the proper APIs, you might have some useful data here. So here, my website's not using any of those, but when you do that, you're gonna have a few numbers that I like a lot. Actually, the total searches. So basically, you're gonna be able to see if your search has been used at all. Once you have few searches, one number that is very important is the click-through rate. So how often people are finding the results that they want. So how often people are clicking in a result. If that number is very low, you have a problem. You should address that because it doesn't matter if your interface is pretty or beautiful. People should be able to find results. That's why search exists, right? And once they do find the results, so once you have that number here good enough, it's time to take care of the average click position because you don't want people finding the result at the second page. Basically, ideally, you should have the result that they want between the first and the third result. Worst case scenario, the fifth, no more than that. Because we are all users, right? We know how terrible experience it is when you need to go through multiple pages until you find what you want. So you can start by making sure that people are using your website, and then you can increase the click-through rate to make sure that people are at least clicking on something. That's properly using the website, not only triggering searches, and then you make sure that you are delivering the best relevance possible. And all that is actually part of the basic package. Let me just move this bar right here. Once you do that, it's time to run the PowerShell script, right? Yep. So this is the script that they offer. It was created by them, so that's good enough, right? I did not have to code that myself. Again, that script, it's a little bit complex, so don't worry about reading all that or trying to understand. But long history short, it is actually there you go. So I'm using 9.3 for instance, and when I'm using 9.3 and XP, so you can inform the PowerShell script if you're using XP and Xconnect and Commerce or just Commerce, you name it. They do accept multiple values here. So you start by telling them what is your account name, then the cloud deployment ID that I mentioned before, in your Sitecore instance name. And that's it. Sitecore version, of course, and XP. With that in hand, they're now able to go there and actually start by synchronizing the configuration between your Sitecore and their Solr. So instead of doing that manually, they do that for you. They create the cores, so the collections, they'll be empty, but they're gonna be there. So you don't need to worry about that. And then they change the configurations, which in our case for 9.3 is basically changing the web config and the connection string. But if you're using, I don't know, Xconnect or even Commerce, it's gonna be a little bit more complex, but don't worry, they will do that for you. If you want, play with it, you can, because I mean, the PowerShell, it's open. So if you want to get really fancy, or if you need something that's not here, I will give you an example, S6A. So if you are dealing with S6A and you need SearchStax to deal with it, you can just open your PowerShell script and change a few lines to add those cores which are not part of the out-of-the-box Sitecore. I did that myself, for instance. I was trying SearchStax with an instance using SXA, and I was basically trying to create a search page using SXA. So the Sitecore index wasn't here. I just added, and boom, that's it. All of a sudden, they are leveraging SearchStax for your SXA indexes as well. And after all that, finally, I took the time to rebuild my index previously because it takes a while. But once you do that, it's a matter of going. You can go here, of course, on your admin just to validate if everything is working and confirm that you have proper return values here when you query for all your results. And after that, one thing that I always do is I validate that my connection string is actually pointing to Solr Cloud. So if you open your connection string config after running the PowerShell script, you will realize that your Solr search connection string is no longer using your local Solr. It is pointing to the SearchStax Solr now. And when you do that, it's now time to just confirm that you can search on Sitecore, because as you guys know, this internal search right here, I think that I will have to, okay, that's perfect. So that search right here is using the internal indexes, right? So you can confirm that everything is working. And since your connection string is pointing to Solr, you know it is using SearchStax. So the phase one, so using SearchStax as Solr as a service, it's going to take you probably 5 minutes. That's it. And then you're going to be able to work on the phase two, leverage different models, leverage the analytics and the dashboards, and etc. One cool part about SearchStax is that everybody will try to compare SearchStax with Coveo, for instance, or with any other search provider. The cool part is that even if you're using Coveo for content-facing search, so for client-facing search, website search, you can still have SearchStax for your internal indexes, because that's going to take you time, right? 13 different indexes, you take some time to make sure that they are working properly. So if you're using Coveo for client-facing, because I don't know, you wanna have AI-powered search or anything like that, you can still use SearchStax for internal indexes. That's a valid possible scenario. It's not actually it's not even weird. I think that that's probably the best one when you need some sort of more complexity on the client facing, but you still don't want to waste your time managing Solr. And that's usually what I suggest people that are already using Coveo and want to try something different in order to manage their Solr indexes. So SearchStax is an amazing option. I've been playing with it for a while, and I just have positive things to say about it. The team is pretty cool as well. So if you have technical questions, they'll be there to help you. And that's pretty much all I had. Anyone has any question?
Whoa, okay. I think, yes, we do. Himadri I do have myself a number of questions.
Sure.
And we have time to discuss, by the way. So I would like to Himadri speak. Go ahead, Himadri.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic presentation.
Thanks, Mother.
So can you, actually you talked about A/B testing. Can you elaborate a little bit about, like, I know that we don't have too much time, but still elaborate a little bit about how A/B testing work?
Yes, so A/B testing will be part of that Search Studio thing that I mentioned before. So it is not part of the basic package. So when you are using Solr as a service, you won't have it. But as soon as you buy the Search Studio, you'll be able to create different, how can I say that? Different models. So you have different offerings with different result capabilities. So you have here you have recurrent expressions, and here you have filters, and then you can create A/B testings to kind of compare those. Especially from a relevance perspective. But again, that's part of of the Search Studio, which is not, I need to tell you guys that, but it's not part of the basic stuff. It's a new product.
Okay, understood. Yeah, so I was thinking same way, like, you created a configuration and that gives you different kind of relevance for the search, and you then compare two different configuration to see, like, which one is winning, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the cool part is that you don't even need to create the configs. There is I've never played myself with the Search Studio, but I was able to watch a presentation from the SearchStax market team on the Search Studio thing, and they showed me that you can use the interface to create different search capabilities. So you can use the interface to change the ranking on each field, on each indexed field, and then you can do that for each one of your models. And then you can have different filtering expressions for each one of them by using the UI. Again, you don't need to play with the config at all, even especially because you don't have access to the config, right? So instead of playing with your local config and synchronizing things, they offer you this amazing UI on which you can create different things. So ranking expressions, different ranking weights for different fields, and filtering expressions as well.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
Cool. All right. Madri. Anybody else? Let me know. Okay, I do have a number of questions myself, but I'll give priority for our audience. So valuable one. Have a number. You have increased our audience, Hugo.
I know this Leonard guy who is there.
Yeah.
Tom,
Man,
I know a few one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me go with my questions. The first observation is I know in comparison, and you know a lot about Covil, and in comparison with Covil, also provides you the capability to compose your search results page itself, visually then how that will look like, which enables you to even personalize that for like some people will see something, some facets others want. Does SearchStax provide anything like that?
Not yet. I know that they were working on something. Actually, the thing is that right now they don't have an integration, right? So they are not within Sitecore. When you install SearchStax, you are not installing DLLs on Sitecore, so they don't have access to the full thing. They are working on having that. So not only a crawler, which is going to be able to actually read from Sitecore instead of just receiving the events, the indexing events, but also they're working on offering an out-of-the-box search interface, because that's something that they're missing as well. So you don't need to recreate the interface on every single project. You can basically take what they offer from scratch and working over it. So create your own CSS and etc. And during that discussions, there were some things about personalization, but the answer is that right now, no, they don't have it.
Mm-hmm. I will keep watching your hands, okay? And right, you mentioned changes in the web config. What changes are that for SearchStax?
Good question. I just know that they're changing the web config because it took some time to read actually the PowerShell, but I wasn't even aware of the fact that they need those change config. So I can try to find it real quickly. So web config here. Let me share my screen again. It's going to be easier if I show you.
The only one I can see and imagine is the Solr as provider, but we don't need to change that if we are migrating from on-prem.
Oh, I know what it is. They're creating a role configuration or a base root configuration called search define.
Yeah, they're setting the Solr as a search provider.
Yeah, exactly. They are changing
So you are migrating from Solr on-prem to Solr SearchStax. You don't need to change that at all.
Exactly. That's
Just
only useful if you are using a different search provider.
Nice. Hey, tell me about the content replication. If I have like a, servers in different coasts in the USA, like West and East, how does replication work? You know about that?
I'm not sure if I get your point. So you have the same content replicated, or you have different content, you want to integrate those?
Yeah, let's say if you have, maybe rephrase here, if you have a solution, a Sitecore solution that has some servers in the West Coast, some servers in the East Coast, or some servers in USA, some servers in Europe, right? And they are physically separate, but you have, of course, the content is the same among coasts or among continents, right?
Yep.
So you need that info to be replicated. If I synchronize here, I add something to the index here that must be there. That's what I mentioned about replication. So you mentioned that I can spin up easily, like one Solr in Europe, one Solr in Brazil, maybe.
Yeah.
Can you
And then, yeah, that's going to be easy, but then you need to manage the fact that you have multiple Solrs yourself, right? And that's going to be a little bit more complicated. It is still feasible, because let's just remove SearchStax from the equation. You are using Solr. You can do that right now. It's just a matter of making sure that you have your Solr updated all over the world, which we know that is not easy, to be honest, but it is feasible. It's just a matter of replicating all the events. Then you can put SearchStax back to the game, and it's going to be pretty much the same. I don't know if they offer some sort of solution for that, so some sort of product to that. I've never played that with myself, so I know that Tom is part of the SearchStax market team. He's on the call, so if he knows something about it, he can just raise the hand. Otherwise, I don't think that they have something.
Tom, if you don't know how to raise your hand, I will unmute you. Okay? Can I? You're not here. Okay.
Leonard raised the hand. He's also part of the SearchStax team, so you can let him
Yes,
speak.
I'm not on the technical side, so I can't really answer that question, Hugo. But I wanted to thank you for sharing everything about SearchStax. That was great today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Tom. I have just unmuted Leonard.
Hey guys, just want to say thank you for Hugo. What you shared with us is really incredible, and everything that you've covered so far. Wow, it's exactly what we cover in any of our conversations. Yeah, and first and foremost is I realize why you're a Sitecore MVP, along with many of our friends and colleagues on this call today, because you and the team, Rodrigo, thank you as well, do a really great job in talking about how we can make Sitecore better, how other providers, partners work, and how it also helps you in your day-to-day. So just want to say, obrigado. Thank you very much. So always very happy to be part of this.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we don't have a response for the replication.
Here on here, but we do have cross data center replication capabilities, and then also, as you know, we have the ability for warm, hot, and cold DR. So that could be spun up if there is ever an outage. That could be spun up within minutes just through a DNS switch.
Yeah. With all that being said, I would say that, Rodrigo, I think that for the data consistent part of the equation, they do have something, because I know that under the hoods they're replicating the data, but the problem with latency. So if you want to have multiple search endpoints in order to reduce the latency, I think that that's going to be something that you are going to have to do that yourself with multiple Sitecore instances all over the place. I think that's an honest question. What do you think? Honest answer.
I think we'll have a follow-up article from
Fair enough. Fair enough.